Here. Yesterday, yesterday was better, or yesterday. Kathy Galino, Calaveras County Economic and Community Development Director, and I saw the most beautiful dogwood yesterday between here and Kings Beach.
Hi, I'm Frank. I'm from Colony County. I work for the county administrator's office, and I think the most difficult thing I saw was really looking at the rushing rivers and streams coming up. It was nice to see the water. He's totally took mine. I'm sorry. Okay, Jane Freeman, Alpine County. Gosh, David, what else did we see? It's just gorgeous mountains in Tahoe and the lake.
I'm John Thompson, Commissioner Shoshone Tribe and Tribal Council of California. I'm a part-time photographer, so past 2 days I got early in the morning, went down to the lake, caught the sunrise both days. Also saw some black bears this morning. So.
What do you shoot, a Canon or Nikon?
Meryl Picard, I'm the Bishop Tribal Chairwoman, live in Bishop. And for me coming in, not this morning, but coming in the other day, I really admired the trails along the lake and wanted to pull over. Go for a walk, but I didn't.
Charlotte Langmont, Lake Pacific Tribal Chairperson as well, and I kind of grew up in Carson City and used to hitchhike to their childhood to really get the beach and I see it as a game. It's why it was really hitchhiking for me over the year, off the ride up the pass.
You going back to the truck?
Sometimes.
My name is Mary Watts and I'm working in college for the chancellor's office, and I started very engaged for Columbia College, South College, Lincoln College, and Delta College. And I was part of the K-16 when I was at Columbia undergraduate.
Something you saw in your drive here?
Oh, I took a picture of Donner Lake, and then I was so inspired I grew involved in the chapter.
Excellent.
Brandon Price, Columbia College, filling in for Lena Tran today, and oh, it's gonna see on the way here. I saw a lot of. I came up to 88. And I saw a lot of trees. So I thought about Craig and our forestry corps program and Dan over there, and the need for tree room.
Jen Burrows, Mono County, Circus of Community College. I drove around and looked at Truckee downtown and some of the housing developments around the area.
Nolan Bobroff, Mammoth Lakes Community and Economic Development Director. I'm interested, I looked at the truck and bike park this morning. I'm inspired that we need that,
You do have a bike park.
but I want that bike.
Dave Edwards, Mariposa County Chamber of Commerce, past chair, and then the founder for the Educational Bridge Foundation. Yesterday I was struck by the lack of dead fallen trees on the 80 corridor. Pretty impressive compared to Mariposa County, and it seems like 1 in 5 trees is going to be down. You know, honestly, I've been struck. I used to come up here and go to the North Star all the time, so being down here, being sort of where our hotel is, looking up at North Star the entire time, I was like, man, I really miss going snowboarding all the time.
We had a request from our folks who are joining virtually to speak up so they can hear or hear lead.
This doesn't extend very far. I will try not to trip over. Okay, Mark.
Good morning, I'm Mark Schwartz, former board president of the Alpine County Chamber of Commerce and also the founder and owner of California Alps Cycling. First time I've done the stretch between Incline Village through to Truckee, not on a bicycle. So that was an interesting experience.
Excellent.
Good morning, Jose Garcia, Mayor, City of Bishop. I gotta say that I've driven many times on 80 or 60 going from Bishop to the Bay Area, Sacramento. But this is the first time that I spent some time in Pittsburgh and North Lake Tahoe. everything is beautiful, and I got to enjoy it, so thank you for allowing me to come up here to this meeting, thank you.
Excellent.
Good morning, everyone. Will Bassett. I'm the Community Design and Development Planner for Mariposa County. And I'm the director. I still two bears as well. Mom bear, Luca. And I was with my 2-year-old daughter. She lost it. And she got distracted by the CD. It's like a 5-second left.
Wait a minute, you still have a CD player?
Yeah, that's.
That's like shocking, that's 32. Wow.
Excellent, excellent. Oh.
I'm Karen Dickerson, and I'm the Hamilton County, and I'm the County Board member of Hamilton College Cadet.
What did you see on your drive here, Karen? What did you see on your drive here? Anything interesting?
Well, I don't like to drive, so I think that, for me, I would like to have a driver with, driving this big.
Yeah.
Good morning, Nate Greenberg, Inyo County Administrative Officer, and saw a lot of beautiful mountains actually on the way up from Bishop to here the other day.
Excellent. Eric, do we have any council members online?
Just one at the moment. Sandra, can you hear us?
Sandra, would you like to introduce yourself and?
Tell you what I saw on my drive to work. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. It's a little quiet. I don't know.
Thanks. I'm Sandra Moberly. I'm the Mono County Administrative Officer. I've been at Mono County for about 8 months now. And prior to that, I was at the town of Mammoth Lakes for 17 years. And I was appointed to the High Road Transition Council, which is now, I think, the governing council, maybe about 18 months ago, a year ago or so. So I'm glad to be here virtually. I appreciate the accommodation.
Where'd you from? Great. Could you say, yeah, Mono County?
Mono County.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so we are going to start off with a debrief very quickly from yesterday. So I'm going to hand it over to Agnew Beck.
Thanks, Erica. Jill, would you mind going on to the next slide, or is it Erica? It's Erica. Oh, hi, Erica. Great.
My job.
So we just wanted, we know we are on a shorter time frame this morning, but we really wanted to take time to hear from you all, your high-level reflections from our last day and a half together. We recognize that this is a monumental time together. There's been a ton of work that got accomplished. Just looking around the room, like it's very impressive, all the work that you've all done over the last day and a half. So we wanted to, again, just get some high-level reflections as we're wrapping up our meeting today. And just a reminder, you will be getting a survey monkey where you can provide more feedback, more thoughts about what went well, what didn't go well, and you should be getting that by the middle of the week. So just a reminder, just go to the next slide. Our meeting objectives, you can back up for a second. So our meeting objectives for our time over these 2 days is to, or were to. So our first meeting objective is to work together. So to define community-centered, climate-forward economic strategies for our region. Our second objective is to raise up voices. So to listen to each other, build on input to date, and raise up voices of historically unheard voices into the conversation. Our third meeting objective for our time together is to co-create. So create and refine goals, strategies, and project ideas to include in the 2024 Zero Jobs First plan. And then the fourth objective of our time together is to build connections. So between ideas, regional partners, and each other. And here's a couple of photos of the last couple of days that Eric included. So thank you. There's more photos to come. Great. Okay, so I'd love to just go around the room. I'd love to hear from all the governing council members. If you could just share your high level reflections. And again, you'll have more time, more opportunity for input. So Kathy, are you okay if I start with you? Or I can start over here. We're just gonna do a quick last.
Start on that side.
Okay, well, I'm starting here. High level reflections for the last day and a half.
I think it reinforced for me that, oftentimes we're thinking in silos, we're thinking we're in competition with one another. And I think yesterday was another reminder, we're thinking regionally, we're thinking together. We're not in competition.
Thank you, Will. Is that
Thinking back on that is that we need to support each other. Probably if I did not tell, or that counts for one county, we should have an impact, positive impact in the rest of our region. So working together, supporting each other, and just thinking on the big picture, not just on one community, one.
So working together and supporting each other. Thank you. And our folks online, can you hear okay? It's Sandra.
Hey, yeah, it just,
Yes.
like,
Yeah, and have everyone just. Okay, speak up just one more notch. Okay. Nate.
Yeah, thank you. Agree with both of those things. I'm a little new to some of this, but it did feel like it put some more meat on the bone in terms of what we were actually trying to work toward, and there's a little more clarity around not just that roadmap, but some of the objectives, and I think getting toward something that's tangible in terms of projects.
Great, so clarity and getting more tangible pieces around the project. Karen.
Just collegiality and support from our colleagues, and again, that we are working together to improve our region and for our communities.
Right. Collegiality and support.
It was a taxing yet rewarding day. I was exhausted, like I think all of us were. But it was good to feel, it made me feel like I'm not on an island. It's
Awesome.
really nice to connect with a lot of you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to echo what Will and Jose were both saying, really yesterday was a great way to reframe the concepts. And I think, in my particular case, the Educational Bridge Foundation that I'm founding for Mariposa County, to be able to rescope that and think about it as being a regional solution and something that we can replicate in every county, something that we can build as building upon what Andrew's built with Amador County Connect and the College Connect. And it's completely reframed the whole concept and given us a bigger focus. So I think, if everybody takes that as a lesson that we can rescope and think bigger and think better, it results in us sharing the pie as opposed to us, fighting over the pies.
That's great. So rescope and reframe to a regional solution. Nolan.
It's inspiring just to hear all the various ideas, and also hopeful that the issues and ideas that we think, for Mammoth and kind of locally are really, regionally, and everyone's experiencing the same. So I think it's helpful to provide that clarity as we're moving forward, that we're all working towards the same goal.
Okay, clarity. Jen. I'm pretty new to this as well, so it provided a lot of clarity on what the scope is, what the projects were, or what our guidance is, what we're supposed to be doing. So I really appreciated that. I also appreciated that when we had to do the switching of tables in the morning and go to different project sectors, that we all seemed to like have the same ideas, which was really kind of cool. Like, it didn't matter where we were from, we all kind of had the same ideas, and we were putting a lot of input in, and everyone's like, yeah, we need that too. And so just kind of seeing that we all are in need of a lot of these resources.
We're lining around ideas.
That's great. Brandon.
Yeah, I agree. We had a lot of the same ideas, which was really encouraging. I also was encouraged by the fact that hearing people's ideas, like getting some other ideas from other folks, that was really nice to hear how we could kind of scale some of these things across the region. And then I was really appreciative of the opportunity to start working in our industry-specific work groups, and I'm in a couple of those, but it's really nice to start thinking about industry-specific work.
Good, thank you for sharing. Mary.
I think the benefit of just the whole catalyst is that it's getting us all talking about what are the problems, and then we're immediately jumping to what are the solutions, and what is a proposal, and how do we bring together people to actually solve these problems. So I think that's the benefit, and then we're learning from models across other areas, and we have some of the same issues, so it's nice. And I echo Brandon about the, it'd be great to get industry and to start really having that voice in the industry have those. But I know we're still hiring sector navigators, there's a lot, but but it's exciting.
That's great. So identifying problems, moving to solutions, and involving the industry sectors.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Teacher Charlotte.
Appreciate the collaboration and talking with everybody, and meeting people also in my neck of the woods. But as we move forward, I just ask everybody, when you're making your projects, to think about the water, think about the pollution, think about the birds, think about the animals, our relatives that don't have a voice. And that's why we're really here today, to really be part of that collaboration and protecting and not destroying. And one of my goals is, I don't know why everybody's allergic to dirt, they want asphalt and concrete.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank
So
you.
including the animals, the birds, the flowers, and project ID. Meryl.
For me, I appreciated the conversations during the tables. I feel like so much of this process has been talking at us. And so finally it felt like we got an opportunity to speak and have input. So that was like a highlight. Kind of going back to the question this morning of like what we noticed. I noticed those trails, but to me, our people are struggling with the basic needs. And yeah, that's nice to have these beautiful sidewalks and walking paths and bike trails. But our people don't even have water and sewer. So I think we need to remember when we're thinking about this, how can we help support the basic needs of our people throughout our region so that they can have clean water?
Okay, thank you. Focus on basic needs, things that to be done.
I think yesterday for myself, maybe start off a little chaotic, 'cause I came in a little late, so didn't understand quite what was going on, but I definitely appreciate the clarity towards the end of it, our goals and objectives. I think the biggest thing from this for me is the opportunity here for tribal nations here in the valley and the counties to work with our neighbors and the outside communities here in partnership. I think there's some great opportunities here for us to build economic development for both of us, for us all to work well together, and maybe open up a future benefit for us down the lines, better communication amongst the tribes and
That's great.
community.
Thank you. It's a stronger partnership between the tribal nations and partners in the room. Thank you. Jane.
Yeah, well, I think you met all four criteria really well. So thank you for that. And I really do understand the process much better now. And I'm just really impressed with all of the inputs and conversations that we have had. I liked hearing from Steve that we have time. I think that there's been a lot of stress around trying to get things done, and it's nice to know that this is a long-term process and the relationships that we're building are longer term. I also appreciated hearing from Jesus about how messy this process is. I think it was Jesus. But that really did resonate for me yesterday in particular. And then I guess lastly, I really got a much better sense of the tribal nation needs and their role in this region, and really how to help all resilient communities move forward to be resilient. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you. Mo.
I think for me, the biggest thing, and I want to say ditto to what so far the council has said. I think some amazing comments have come out of it, but it was nice for the first time to all be in the same room. I don't think that we're able to, we're great collaborators. We have great exchanges of ideas, but sometimes it's really hard to do that via electronic process. And so it was amazing to get to meet so many neat people, and again, echoing some of the things, I think there was great collaboration. And I think the hardest part for me was trying to, before the opportunity today and yesterday, is to see how we can put our ideas and our thoughts together and talk regionally. And I think we got a lot of clarification on that yesterday, and that really helped me. And also, I think helped clarify a little bit more of the objectives and how we can go forward from there.
Yeah, it was great to be in the same room and have
Yes.
those conversations. I echo that. Kathy.
Okay, so ditto everything. I think one of the greatest things that I found important was that we're starting to build strategies. And what was even more interesting is how many of these sectors cross each other, right? Whether it's workforce, whether it's housing and infrastructure, whether it's recreation and tourism, a lot of this crosses over, and getting to meet people is amazing. Getting to talk to people and expanding our horizons is amazing.
Yeah, I agree that crossover piece.
And then for our folks online, Sandra. Any reflections from yesterday?
I didn't participate in yesterday's sessions, but I really appreciate all the feedback that I'm hearing. And I think that hitting on infrastructure and supporting our special districts is really important. And I think that I would second that. Since I've transitioned to the county, I've really seen that the importance that all of our special districts play in making kind of our communities work, and how important it is to support them to make sure that they have what they need to provide services to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, for the focus on special district. And Jeffrey, any reflections from yesterday from you? No, okay, great. Okay, so I know this part of the agenda is almost done, but I just want to do a really quick hot lap around the room. If anyone has any burning reflections that you would like to share. And again, you will get a Survey Monkey the next several days to provide more specific feedback, but any reflections as I move around the room with my hand this way? Reflections? Hearing none, thank you all so much. And I think from a facilitator perspective, I echo everything that you've all shared. And like I'm walking away from this super inspired. I'm like very moved and very honored to be walking alongside you all in this work. So thank you so much. And Erica?
Did Erica step out?
Shauna? Could you tell them they're up, please?
You know, I want to fill the space with one reflection.
Yes.
How grateful I am for everyone for coming here, because I know it's one way. But number two, for everyone being present in person. No offense, Sandra, we wish you were here. You know, because I think the in-person aspect of this, the peer-to-peer relationship building is really, really, really.
Do you want to do the timeline?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so Shauna, welcome back in, and we are, we just wrapped up the reflection.
Yeah, real time.
And we're gonna jump into, we're talking about the timeline, and then we're talking about your role as this work moves forward. Okay.
Awesome. So this is a really exciting project because we're literally out in the hall talking about timelines and realistic based on what we got today. So is there a slide that did you guys already do the overview of the strategic planning?
We're just,
Okay,
we just dropped the reflection.
okay, so thank you. Okay, so you all saw just real high level, so talking about the actual production of the strategic plan, which is due to the state on August 31st, which is, yesterday was the kickoff of starting the process of collecting everyone's ideas. And then last night we stayed in here late to take all of those posters and start to put them into general buckets based on core issues / foundational strategies. And then start to look at the sector plays, you know, the 5 sectors. And then there are a lot of meetings planned in May and June simultaneously, where we will package this up into some kind of inviting way to have a conversation with our community members, with our partnership with our community-based organizations, some workshops by sector to further refine these. And then the fun part of creating a product, which is the document. What we heard from the last, and so that gets us to the co-create plan with feedback. The feedback in that purple section is the meetings, all these kind of conversations, right? And then the idea tracker and the inputs is all the report and the data that fed into the conversation tomorrow. So a lot of what we did yesterday was using all of the inputs. And then we want to provide a draft of something. And the reason I say something because what can we reasonably produce by June? Right now, I'm going to go to this slide. Actually, let me go back. So we said this is a draft, and this is where we would love some of your guidance. What we heard from the regional plan is we need more time for public comment. So if we're building in public comment, 3 weeks, it's kind of normal, right? It would be ideal to give all of you, our public, 3 weeks to review a draft strategic plan for this year, Jobs First region. That would be amazing. What that does is we also need about 2 to 3 weeks to go through all of those comments and decide what goes, what stays, how are we going to respond to that? And then we have to give you all another draft in some time
before you vote on it and we send it to the state. So based on that timeline, we did we looked at that and said, realistically, to do all those things, we need to have a draft out in the public by June 1st. Okay, so that means starting Monday, we're starting to write the plan and the meetings, so there's the product side, we're starting to write the plan. And the meetings are happening out in the field and feedback's coming in and we're making adjustments to the document as we're going forward. And then somewhere around June 1st, we're publishing a draft. So I was out in the hallway with my sort of writing team, telling them about, reminding them of this June 1st. And I guess what I always go back to is being at the state meeting and remembering that this is a journey. And what we need to do is produce a deliverable that gives a good picture of where we're at this point in our journey. It's not an end point. So that is an amazing theory, but we still have to have a document with a title page, a table of contents, and so that is that is just as the administrators of this project, that's on us to figure out, but we would love your guidance on, here's two questions. Are you adamant? How much time do you feel to make this truly we want, the way I look at it is, that document is a piece of paper, but we want you to look at it and say, there are so many fingerprints on that. That plan is a reflection of so many ideas and so many people shaping these ideas that are on this paper. To do that, do you feel like we need to put it out for public comment for 3 weeks and then have a really kind of like EIR level of public comment review showing how we are using, so we need about 3 weeks to do that. So that's 6 weeks right there. Or do you think that there's any way to sort of 2 weeks and 2 weeks, just that's what we're looking for feedback on.
Yeah, are you serious, like right now, feedback?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Conversation. I mean, it's not, this is a conversation because this is a timeline we've been given. And we have a timeline and we want this to be community driven. And so, do you want to say before?
Yeah, definitely. I just wanna I want to reiterate the importance of these two documents. It's not supposed to be a document that's gonna be sitting on a shelf and we're never gonna see it. You really wanna make sure that this document is be able to be used to attract additional funding into your region, that tells the story of the communities in your region, that attracts employers to your region, that showcases what are the strengths in your region that we can use to better what's already working in your region and attract additional opportunities. So it may be tedious to review the document, but this document is supposed to be really important for you to continue on for the next 5-10 years.
Yes.
Which is why the first document, the baseline, the regional plan part 1, yes, it's like 400 and something pages, but it has to be data driven. The sectors you choose have to be data driven. The story that's being told in the regional plan part 1 should be accessible and a document that can be used for different purposes, right? So it is really important you do take time to sit through and provide feedback to the regional plan part 1 and 2. And maybe you could get some guidance on how to review the document because it is 450 something pages. So it's important to see you should break it up into sessions, right? Like section 1, community engagement, section 2, sector development. So that you all can really provide meaningful feedback. For the second document, the regional plan part 1, again, it's going to be used as a tool to attract additional funding. The timeline is tight, right? June is really tight, but that doesn't mean that after June, you're not going to be able to come back and make some revisions or continue working on it. the deadline that we have provided is unfortunately tied to a contract. So the grantees have to turn in something for the state for us to see, to know that you all are on your way and you have met the contract obligations. Now, you all can continue working afterwards, but again, I just want to make that clarification that you do have to turn something in by the deadline because it's tied to the contract. Will it be a completely finished product? Absolutely not. One thing that I'm not really seeing on here is that, how are we educating our partners? Because, public comment is only meaningful if folks understand what they're providing feedback on, right? So you need to make sure you are doing everything you can to educate your community and your partners on what they're looking at. It's not a checking off activity, right? You want to make sure that, is this the right story that we're being told with the data? Are these the right sectors that are really going to get us to becoming more resilient in the next 5-10 years? Are we really leveraging our resources that are currently in our region? Who are the biggest players in our region and how do we bring them to the table? Because they have their responsibility in this process too. So all those questions, what can we think?
Yeah, I mean, so this is, simply, we've had this timeline in our own internal calendar and we were asked to share it. This is just about the product deliverable to the state. This doesn't have all the layers in there of all the community engagements that we're doing and all the education and that I just wanted to give you guys this simple, look into the timeline that we're under to take this, to have all those amazing conversations that you're talking about. But the lens that we're having those conversations is this pressure of the timeline. And so we could spend 2 years having those amazing conversations and we want to, but we do have to turn something in and we wanted something that's community supported. And so I think one thing that's always helpful in these like abstract conversations, so there's 2 parts. There's this regional plan, and that's what I'm talking about right now is the second part, which is our strategic plan. I can tell you that internally what we've talked about, to give you an idea of scale and scope, is this strategic plan is gonna be like 30 pages. Just to give you an idea of how much, what can we reasonably produce based on authentically knowing what we know, because we have a lot more to learn. Our regional plan, I think we all know is like a good start, but it's missing a lot of the depth that we need to move some of these things forward. So we have work to do, right? And so we want to have a framework of agreed upon strategies, both foundational and in our sectors that we want to move forward and show how we're, you know, who's coming to the table and what our community agrees is sort of what we want to move forward as a framework and an outline. But I'm talking like, when you're thinking about like, I need this time to review, we're not going to give you a 300-page report. We're going to realistically be able to produce something and I just talked to like, we think it's going to be about 30 pages. Don't hold me to it, but just so you know, like, oh, am I reviewing 300 pages? I need 3 weeks.
So when you say 30 pages, are you talking about the strategic plan or the
Yeah.
regional plan?
The strategic
plan.
Yes.
And can I make a comment on public comment?
No.
I think our intent on the public comment, so first off, we're gonna get a lot of public comment in May and June at these workshops.
But how are we gonna get people to those workshops?
Well, we're gonna partner with CBOs, we have a vigorous social media campaign, we're gonna be announcing it in the community. We have a public relations budget to push it out in the community. We're gonna be doing like the campaign organizing that you do for a political campaign to get people to those workshops, and we have a team dedicated to doing it. But we're gonna get a lot of public comment from that needs to be incorporated in this as well. And then once we have a draft document, I just want to be clear, it is our intent to respond to every single public comment on that draft document. So Shauna's comment of think about what you see in an EIR, right? And I'm talking about not for the regional summary, but the strategic plan, right? Expect to see a response that lays out here's the public comment, here's the line or chapter or whatever it is it relates to. Here's kind of SBC's response from editing, from the writing and editing team, or how we responded to that comment, and an opportunity for you to see comment at the, you know, after the comment process. You can see how all of those comments have been addressed. And I think that is a really important element of this, that like, if people are gonna take the time to public comment, they have to be directly responsive. So.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you asked us if we should have 2 weeks or 3 weeks for
Thank you.
public comment. Can you please briefly explain what are the advantages and disadvantages of 2 weeks and 3 weeks?
Thank you, great, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pros and cons, so, if we shorten so here's what the question I'm asking you. If we shorten the public review of the strategic plan, which is the 25-page one, not this one, to 2 weeks, and if we shorten, that gives us from June 1st, public comment, we get to push it, we get another week to get more feedback from these meetings and more time to draft this plan, and then we put it out June 15th instead, and we say to the end of June, 2-week public comment, and that just gives us more time on the front end. That's the benefit for us. For all of you, that means that you don't have the opportunity to send it far and wide to your networks.
Right.
You have 2 weeks to do it.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons, and you just tell us, we will work within your framework. And that tells us like what, and then we're gonna right size, like, what can we reasonably produce to meet our contract requirements, is no problem, we're gonna do that. But we want this to be your plan and and something that you're proud of and it's yours. And so we will just right size it based on what you.
I think whenever, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
whenever you can provide the comment, or you can provide the community with the most amount of time to comment,
Right.
I think that's your best option.
Okay.
We don't wanna leave anybody out. Some people communicate differently, some people have broadband, have internet access, some don't. I don't know if we're gonna be doing mailers or what the plan's gonna be. But a lot of our communities are not connected, electronically, so.
Great, so that's super helpful for us to know, because we're sort of at that fork in the road of like, I don't know, what do you guys think? It's your communities, you know, yeah.
What other people?
Yeah, you guys think Mo, so, yeah.
I see, I'm gonna use this to explain how I see it. It looks to me like the strategic plan is like the foundation to build a house.
Yes.
And I want that foundation to be strong. I want to give you the time you need to make the best foundation. If I give you 2 weeks, you have more time to get it done the way it should be. Before you release the draft, if we take the time between in May, early June, to tell the community, be ready to receive this document, read it, because we only have 2 weeks to give feedback on this document. That gives you more time to build a better foundation. I feel 2 weeks is the time we should be having for public comment.
Okay. Thank you. I do like the idea of adding, when we're doing these workshops though, that it's coming.
Yeah.
So, and be ready for that.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I guess my question is how these workshops are going to be integrated into that.
Okay.
And what is, I mean, the concern that I have also is seeing an hour for a few of these workshops
Yeah.
in Eastern Sierra. I mean, we just spent 10 hours, and I think that we basically have a grasp of what's happening now finally. So
Yeah.
the concern that I have is that we may be able to get the review done in 2 weeks, but I don't know that we're going to be able to effectively respond, and I'm not sure that that is responsive to our community in terms of gathering that feedback, and the way that that aligns with this is a little bit
Yeah.
concerning.
So what are some of your ideas? Let me just tell you a little bit of the framework for those workshops, and then I'd love to hear your ideas. So the ideas are, so for those workshops, which is taking all of this information and turning them into, some places are not gonna have, we know this, we're not gonna have slides. It's gonna be just in-person meetings. Lone Pine Chamber is our first meeting. One of our first meetings is at the Lone Pine Chamber, and We're not gonna be used PowerPoint, so we're gonna take this and do boards. And basically ask them, are we on the right track, or what are we missing? What, to explain the process, the framework, and that's what we have time for, right? Is it a completely in-depth conversation? No, but we'd love to hear we have May to write this draft. We have May. We are an amazing, I will tell you, it seems impossible, but thank you, because after yesterday, we didn't have all of this, right? We have a framework to start to write now. And then we want to go out and sort of enrich, just keep adding ideas and depth to the conversation, and then draft this into some very short sort of framework. It's an architecture. This is an architecture for our collective work moving forward. Right, so and with a lot of space for improvement and study. So
I guess my reaction to that would be two things. One is, to the extent that all of this can be front loaded to these communities via local leaders to see that, so that when these people come into these meetings, they're not seeing it for the first time, and there can be as much groundwork laid. I still don't think an hour is enough time or really appropriate with those community meetings, but to the extent that it can be front loaded, I think that will be beneficial. I think analog is totally appropriate for those. I think that this works well. And to the extent that is flowing back in this window, that's fine. The only other comment that I would make is, and I agree with Jose, that I think we could do 2 weeks. I have a concern, or I'd like to see there be an opportunity, and I guess maybe it's kind of in there between the 16th and the 23rd, but how is all of that stuff coming back in? How are we seeing it and able to sort of react to it once more? If there's things that were left out or that were not fully responsive, et cetera.
So I think what you're talking about is, I want, Meryl, we'll get to you in just what, I saw your hand up. So I think what you're talking about is you want to have a view into the summary comments that come in, right?
Well, and how they're being incorporated.
Yes, so what we've augmented our staff, I was just saying, I'm very excited, we have literally a tax attorney that's gonna help us make the comments, she's just helping us with admin on this project. And because we learned from the first round that we can do better. And so the review would be similar to, and this is a conversation, we're open to feedback on that, but then it would be here's a comment that came in, here's the feedback. We're also talking about a separate document that would be here's a summary of all the feedback that we got from the May and June workshops. So it's a standalone with some photos and these are the themes that came out as a separate document, but also in the actual document, you as the governing council would be able to have a view into sort of what are the comments that came in and what are the changes and are not changes.
Nate, just a point of clarification, I can't read that, but these were never intended to be just 1 hour. There may be some online forums that are 1 hour, but.
Well, I just see the two that are in our region are 12 to 1 and 6 to 7, assuming those are times, not days.
And those are workshops, so to see.
Their existing workshops, we have an hour on their agenda.
Yeah, we tried to leverage some existing meetings to talk about some of this material, because some of the concern from our partners is that we're asking people to come to too many meetings. And we're just trying to be efficient on
Okay,
that.
well, maybe we can advocate to expand that. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's helpful to hear. Yeah, I don't think that's.
And don't forget, that's the right side with new meetings. On the left are our existing subcommittee meetings and all those other meetings that anyone's invited to. And we're gonna be focused on this a lot in the next few weeks as well.
The old meetings aren't on there. That's just.
I was gonna say that, I don't see.
No, sorry, what I mean is, these are our standard collaborative meetings on the left that are over.
No, they're all new.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry, for make sure.
oh, sorry, you're right, yeah. So what's not shown is our subcommittee meetings and those ones that are already in place. So Meryl had a comment.
So I have a few comments. So I heard over here that there is gonna be some language that we could use to provide buy-in to other people to come and invite others. is that correct? Okay, and then, I also don't see any tribal communities listed on those workshops. But, I think we should have spent more time on like, who are these community partners that we need to include versus relying on us to send this information out. We could have created a big list yesterday or today, this morning, to say like, these are the people who should be included, you know, and we could have gave you contacts. And that way, when we're ready to say, hey, these workshops are coming out, now we send out those blast emails, versus relying on those in the room to make those contacts, we could have given them. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah.
2 weeks is fine, but we should have a list so that we're just ready to blast it out and get those people.
So doesn't the list exist already?
So. Yes, I think, and maybe I've misunderstood it, but I feel like there's two different pieces to your comment. So the 2 weeks for reviewing is for the public comment of the strategic plan. For the workshop lists, yes. So the idea with that is that we are partnering with these community-based organizations and we're gonna be pulling together. We have some existing lists, but we are also gonna be leaning on those part of those community boots on the ground people to pull people in, just like what you're saying. And we'll send those lists out to all of you. Does that help?
So then where's the community or the tribal community partners on this list? Cause you gave a lot of acronyms of different entities, but I am not familiar with any of those. And you're probably not familiar with any of the tribal community partners that could help to have a big reach in the tribal communities in these districts. For example, Owens Valley Career Development Center is in 14 locations in Central California. If you did a workshop with them to provide community input from the tribal community as one of those community workshops, you would be hitting a lot of tribal communities.
Yeah, so that is something that can happen, like based on what you just said, that's what we're looking, I think that's what we would love to. So what you just said, that means this is intent to add more.
Okay,
So let's do that. And
Well, and I think there was another implied comment in Erica's response that we do already have very extensive list that includes some kind of partners, but probably not all. That we are happy to share with you guys and have you recommend other people that we can work with to do additional outreach. Like, we're totally happy to do that. We have a very extensive database. I'm gonna require to actually go in and populate it with new contacts but we're happy to do that. So
I think we need to do that.
Absolutely. I think we thought it would be a little more integrated, but we can definitely have additional, we can have.
Yeah.
yeah, add the agenda. Okay. We literally. So somebody from the SKC team or our team, can we have somebody doing action steps on a poster?
I can do it over.
Okay, so that's an action step, is to send to the governing council the list of the partners. By the way, when Ellen and I just met, we work with that organization.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
The Owens Valley.
That is a great suggestion. Yeah.
I like the idea of pre-socializing or front loading, some of my colleagues have suggested. I learned if we give folks in my community too much time, they'll take every last minute and you'll be behind. So I like the idea of 2 weeks with a little wiggle room,
Okay.
but don't socialize it with it. Yeah, 2 weeks.
Okay.
The other thing that I was gonna say is I heard somebody had said, you know, you've got the month of May to build this.
Right,
content,
you have
but
to write the plan.
I actually disagree. I think to a large extent, you're probably gonna be pushing up against 2 weeks because it's just not enough time. You need to be able to see what is coming back from these workshops.
Yeah.
Based upon the framework that you've got built. So I just, a point of note.
Yeah, no, it's a good framing. So just to start with, our wonderful state rep is here. So the thing is they have given us a general outline of what needs to be in it. So we can start using that framework, right? To just, what I mean is we could start taking what needs to get turned in for that piece. And then take what we have and see what we have so far. So
I just want to make the distinction.
Yeah.
When you're doing community engagement, you have to be, especially when you have a very short time frame, you have to be very intentional of what you're actually getting feedback on. If you just try to open up the documents to get feedback on everything, it's not good for either party. Folks aren't gonna be able to know what to get feedback on, it's gonna be very overwhelming, and you're gonna get comments from all over the board, right? So you gotta make sure that when you are going to engage partners, communities, you're very intentional about what exactly you're getting feedback on. Also, the regional plan part 2, which is the strategy development piece. I'm a big proponent of community engagement. However, this specific deliverable should be developed by experts, right? Should be developed by folks who have been doing this work on strategy development. The community has the right to be able to provide comment and feedback on certain strategies. Some strategies on there, actually, that strategy has continued to impact my community in a negative way. And this is how it's been negatively impacting, right? But I encourage you all to think about what are the pieces that you actually are going to get feedback on. Should you get feedback on the strategies themselves? I think tailored strategies for certain communities are absolutely needed. For the Latino community in other regions, they've held Loteria Night, where they did projects, but they infused Loteria in it, and they bought pan dulce, and they had coffee, and it was an amazing event because it included the community and met folks where they were, and were able to get meaningful feedback on those pieces. So in this 2-week time frame, if you all are going to decide to go in, you have to make sure you have robust partner engagement, partner education opportunities. You have to make sure you create tailored strategies for those folks to be able to provide feedback. Be very intentional of how and when and what you're getting feedback on. So just wanted to.
Thank you.
And make sure you have tamales and pan dulce.
Okay, so I'm gonna, yeah.
Okay, so I need 3 weeks, because one of the things that we're not talking about here, we're talking about community. What about our electeds, right? What about our board of supervisors? What about our city council? What about those folks? Because they're gonna wanna say, so I don't wanna get something to my community before I can even get it to my electeds. We need 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'm elected.
Yeah. People take vacation too, and it's
Yeah,
not.
I know. Okay.
I'm not gonna weigh in on the timing there, that's for others, but I was just curious. I may have missed this, but when are we reviewing it and commenting? Is that prior to June 1st?
August.
Wait,
August.
okay, that's final, but we're not gonna see what is going out to the communities beforehand? Like, we're gonna see it at the same time?
That's the idea, because we need a whole month. Yeah, I mean, that would shorten it that would give us 3 weeks to produce something if we give it to you before. I mean, if you have a comment about that,
Plus,
I don't.
I don't know.
well, as I said, I think that a month is really, that's one of the problems, if we're gonna be holding these workshops. What are we gonna be actually asking for feedback on, right? Like, this is nailed it, like, the real thing is limiting what the feedback is. Because people come in there and say, you shouldn't spend any money on any of this stuff, we wanna have, an alien landing pad, so. It'll be something from out of left field, so really getting an understanding of what these conversations with the community are gonna be. And I don't know that you've got it,
So what I would love to do, is, I think what we have a flexible, agenda, and what we were just talking about over there is to just, what I heard on this is a range of opinions on 2 to 3 weeks, and I have to get with the team who is writing, and I'd say the goal would be 3 weeks. But the goal is 3 weeks. And, based on these community meetings and what the product is it will be no less than 2 weeks, and our goal is 3 weeks, if we could live with that. Is that okay? And then I'd love to hand it over, because it feels like there's a lot of conversation around the community engagement piece. And so to have a conversation with all of you on ideas around, that's what you just said to me, right? It's like, if you guys wanna add some, like 10 minutes on the agenda around, community engagement.
Yeah, I was just gonna do a temperature check, just wanna be cognizant of time and travel. We have a very robust conversation going on around workshops and community engagement. Do you guys wanna use the last 10-15 minutes to keep kind of focusing on this? We were gonna kind of briefly talk about the catalyst, switching gears to your role in that process, just because we're drafting it right now. It's not, set in stone, but what we are this is a parallel process that's happening at the same time as all of this. So we can also utilize the office hours in 2 weeks. We have office hours. Mark?
Just to add, I'm just not clear on what is the expectation of the governing council to socialize this stuff?
You're talking about strategic plan?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, what she mentioned about supervisors. I didn't think that was on me. I thought that was on you all to socialize with the various government entities. Am I hearing correctly that you're looking to us to socialize not only folks we know, but also government?
Would you mind?
Government subcommittee, and that is, part of it, but.
I don't know if I understand your question, though.
Well, I hear these comments about socializing the board of supervisors, and my understanding is that wasn't gonna be me to reach out to my supervisors to say, hey, comment on this plan.
We have a local gov subcommittee.
That do that.
Raise your hand, if you are on the local gov subcommittee.
We
One,
also have
two,
community
three.
neighbors that live.
Only have 3?
Yeah,
Community
that's the problem.
that help present that.
Well, they're here.
I want to revisit one thing about,
There's nothing to it.
back to Kathy's point, about the borders, because we understand those timelines, right? And it's, you gotta get it on the agenda, you gotta get in the packet, and that in itself can take 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's
Now,
not
back
what we're planning.
to something that Jesus said, is that we have a deadline, but we have to submit. However, what I read between the lines, that we can perhaps edit that, I don't want to put you on the spot. But, I mean, we want this thing to be right, and I mean, my suggestion is that we take what's final and approved, and maybe that is presented, and then we have opportunity perhaps to edit.
That's right, yeah, I think to be able to meet contract obligations, you have to submit by what's on the contract. That's what I mentioned earlier, that does not mean it's pencils down and you're never gonna be able to work on it again. If it's important for your region to continue to, adapt, absolutely do it. At the same time, you should have a timeline for it, because or else it's never going to get finished. And I want you all to think about the window to attract federal dollars into your region. It's very short, and if you don't have that deliverable or region done, you're gonna miss that opportunity to attract those federal dollars. We don't want you to do that.
So tonight, on your question, you were asking us if we wanted to spend this time talking about what's happening with the $9 million catalyst grant, is that the question? Or if we're gonna do a flyby on that? I would love to hear what's going on with the catalyst grant, our role in it. So.
Okay, so we're good, shifting gears?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Ellen was just gonna close that section though.
Yeah, should we just like really
Yeah.
wrap up? So I was just listening to everybody's questions, so I'm gonna try to summarize everything that just happened. Listening to the different comments and questions, like, from Meryl and Jose and Kathy and other people. So one is, I do wanna say that, we've had a lot of experience with public engagement processes. These workshops are, I think, gonna be very productive, the way yesterday was productive. Yesterday was a lot of time, and it produced some really good structure. And so moving forward, we're not coming with a blank slate to people and making them kind of go through the process that you all went through yesterday. We're saying, this structure is here, and like, what do you guys want out of it? And I'm just trying to, be reassuring that when we do that with folks and they react to things, it is faster. It's just faster. Like, it doesn't take 8 hours to have that. So I do think these kinds of meetings can be productive.
I love public engagement, so I'm not saying we shouldn't do things like add, suggestions like you added, and I think other suggestions. This process, and I think this whole conversation is just we're in this together, and that's why we're asking, like, what is easiest and best for you? And I think we're getting a little bit of a mix of opinions of like, we do need more time, and I think we all would love it if we had more time. So maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room there, but I think we're gonna do our best, and we're gonna have to make, to your point of like, wouldn't it be ideal if this group could see the draft before it went out for public comment? Hell yes, it would. That would be amazing. But like, as you guys can do math and you're all high functioning people that run schedules, we have to give and take together and figure this out, right? And to your point, like, you are absolutely not in charge of making sure like your board of supervisors knows this information, but everything that you all can do.
I'll have a request for people on the council who are involved with local government, which is, like, I've made a commitment to come update every board of supervisors and city council in the region personally. I'll often come with partners from the community, right? And other local government entities that are interested in having a specific update to their board.
Yes.
Okay, so if.
I'm sorry, but the county supervisors do not update the tribes on those meetings. I had a supervisor come to our meeting last night and he said nothing about
Which
like
meeting?
to the tribal council. So I'm saying, if you're going to the county board of supervisors, they have tribes within their districts.
I would be. happy
Are
to
they
come to tribal
informing
council
them?
too.
Because I don't feel like they have those relationships with the tribes.
Yeah, so this is not either or,
No, I know, I'm just saying, I just feel like we always get left out.
Yeah.
And it's not just you, I'm just saying the responsibility back onto those governing entities.
I have made a commitment to come update any governing entity within the region that would like an update for their board. And that includes tribal governments. So reach out directly to our team and I will schedule such a meeting.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay, great. So we're switching gears. So we're not talking about the strategic plan. We're talking about a quickly approaching phase 2 of all the funding buckets. So the catalyst phase, just a quick update, we do not have our contract yet. We have been awarded the full amount. So we are in progress right now, drafting what those processes, criteria, all of those things are gonna look like in the next couple months. And it's happening very, very quickly. Our subcommittees have been having these discussions, the project identification subcommittee, local gov, and the workforce education business subcommittee. So the HRTC, formerly known as the HRTC, currently council. I don't know if we have any Star Wars fans in here, but I feel like we all need robes. This group is supposed to be representative of the community. So we do have a separate local gov subcommittee. That was by design. So this group is going to be voting on those projects that are recommended and coming through the subcommittees. So the idea is between now and then, don't have the timeline, but.
No, we got it here.
Sorry,
I'm just getting it for Zoom as well.
It's all good, okay, so you can see. Forget it. So we are planning, we have 3 weeks blocked off where we are planning project identification, ideation, workshop. So very similar to what we did yesterday. Yesterday's exercise that Kristen led was just a taster. So we are going to be coming to you on the east slope and the west slope. We're hoping people will drive to have groups meet and kind of workshop those projects through. And that's gonna happen in July and August. This is a draft, keep in mind. We're hoping the RFP will open the day after we submit that strategic plan deliverable. And it'll be open for 2 months. So there's time to plan, get technical assistance, whatever needs to be done. That will close. And then we're hoping in December, this group is gonna vote on buckets of projects. So it's not gonna be one project that you're voting on. It's gonna be a bucket of maybe 5. Okay, so that's the process that we are currently drafting right now, and we'll be asking for your feedback on. So what we would like to know from you is, what do you need going into that voting process? What do you need to be informed on? So we have our regional summary deliverable, have the strategic plan deliverable that is all informing the prioritization of these projects. And the project ID subcommittee is going to be making recommendations. They're also currently working on the criteria. But what does this group need in order to vote come December?
So probably a scoring rubric and then maximizing the points that the state would award. So whatever we decide, whatever the project ID committee decides on the scoring process that we've decided will be equitable and represent, our goals, but then also what will give us the most points too.
It's, yeah, scoring rubric.
Erica, when people talk, can you just repeat back what they said?
Okay, so the request was to make sure that the council has a scoring rubric. So that is what the project ID subcommittee is currently thinking through right now, are those metrics. Because some of them are very, as you could see from the criteria yesterday, what does 40% mean? What does a impact assessment mean? What do all these things mean, and how do we want to weight them for our region? So yes, absolutely.
It'd be nice to have a presentation on the project.
Presentation?
Yeah, I'm not a big one, but sometimes what's written on paper doesn't get translated into a verbal presentation. It'd be nice for us as council members to be able to ask further questions on a project that's being presented to us.
So like a pitch.
Yeah.
So maybe what should that
Before, yes,
pitch be after the RFP closes?
yes.
So maybe sometime in, wait, let's do the math. The council meetings are June, August, and October.
Because you have to
December.
put in some time for the project committee to do their work, right? And then I would think the RFPs would be due, the project committee would review, vet, rank and rate, and then like maybe the following month that would be the pitches. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we could adjust that. We could shift our council meeting from October to November. So we would not be meeting in October. Or we could do like an office hour check-in, we could flip them. And then, organize some sort of pitch presentation of the finalists and, the following month would be strictly voting. So there would be 2 months where there'd be back-to-back council meetings. We have temperature check, hard nose, hard yeses.
Oh, good.
Big nods, okay.
We had a question from Sandra online.
Oh, okay, hold that thought.
Oh, no, I was just responding, and exactly what the person said was the scoring rubric I thought would be helpful, and I agree, the presentations on the projects, and hopefully the scoring rubric will help us figure out the amount of funding for each project. And then just a final thing is, as we move these meeting dates around, it would be great to have a meeting invite, an Outlook meeting invite that's sent to us so that it's on our calendar, so we can make sure we're attending all of these important meetings. Thank you.
Excellent.
Great.
My question is, I'm assuming that there would be no situation where a government, that one of us would have to recuse ourselves because they're regional wide projects. But I guess that's a question. If it's brought forward by a subset, that's my question.
It's a conflict of
We
interest.
were just talking about conflict of interest yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, this is, so And I think we're working on that issue. The News is currently working on providing some guiding, kind of language around that. One of the strategically thought through ideas of the buckets, voting on projects in buckets, is that it would hopefully eliminate some of that. So someone couldn't just push their one project because there's 4 or 5 other projects that are also in that bucket. So we did think that through a little bit, but ironing out the details.
But Will, you make a really great point. I think it's really important because these are public dollars. So even in that scenario, if one of the council members had something to gain either politically or financially from approving that proposal, you can get into some trouble there. So it's really important that you all do implement a conflict of interest and recuse yourself if you are to gain any benefit from it. If you have any relationship tied to the proposal, and that's, good practice. Developing a scoring process is really hard. And, the other piece along with the presentation, thank you so much for bringing that up. I think that's really important. Your scoring committee staff should also provide a, presentation to you all on the rationale of why they have chosen these 10 finalist projects. What were the key highlights from this project? What were the hesitations from this project? So that you all can have a better understanding. You all will not be scoring your project. You will be voting on the finalists. Your scoring committee will be doing the scoring, but you want to know the rationale of why some projects scored higher than others.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I think, and hopefully this will reduce a little bit of stress for everyone. So yes, we only have 9 million in the catalyst bucket of funding. That doesn't mean that a project submitted isn't going to be worked on and thought through by this entire collaborative. So there might be a project, a housing project, that is super critical for another project to advance, but we can't fund it in Catalyst. So it is the job of the collaborative and the convener to work together to figure out how we can make that work, because it still fits into that strategic plan. So that's why we have this strategic plan guiding us, helping us stay course throughout the whole program, because it's 9 million is gonna disappear like that. It's not even, I mean, we think 600 million is gonna drop in the bucket. I mean, we're talking about pennies. So the idea is that it's pre-development and last mile.
But not broadband.
Not broadband.
Last mile, you get lost.
I know we got.
Yeah,
Not
broadband, not broadband.
Actually, if I could ask you a question, Jesus, what is the release and strategy around the tribal pot of funding? Because we haven't talked about that yet, and I think that's super important in our region.
And it's also changed. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not, so, do you mind?
Unfortunately, you're not gonna like my answer. We are still working on it because there were some challenges the first time around with our funding and scoring processes. So we're having to iron out those details, just like you all make mistakes and you're gonna have to own up to it and come back and do better. And that's what we're doing. We're making sure that we are very intentional about fixing our mistakes. And more information on thinking tribal funding opportunity will be coming out soon from our partners.
But the tribal funding is still there.
It's still there.
It's not
25
going
million,
away.
it's still there. It's
And
not
there's
going
a
away.
plan for getting it out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's in the horizon, just don't have exact time frame for that, so that's why we would like this process to be inclusive as possible. Tribes and non-tribes, because they're so embedded into our communities. Okay, any questions on roles, process, feedback? So I think we've collected the scoring rubric. the pitch idea, kind of changing our end of the year schedule just a little bit, so you guys have more information. Yeah, the conflict of interest, recusal policy, and then, yeah, really coming up with that scoring metrics, the weighting system, what that's gonna look like. You will have an opportunity to provide feedback on that. The project ID subcommittee met about it this last month. We have a draft that's going. We also have an advocacy letter that is currently in draft mode from all the feedback. So that criteria, I don't have it in front of me, but that's the starting point for Catalyst. That is the draft criteria for implementation. So we are collecting feedback from all of you to send to the state. So if there are opportunities to make adjustments for implementation, we want to be vocal about that now. And did they send, I haven't received a date. They just said May or April or May. Do we know?
Or the implementation as a week.
Yeah, for the feedback on that.
I think the last, or just for the project criteria, I think it was towards the end of this month.
Okay.
But we're gonna have another opportunity to provide feedback on that because our SFP for implementation is set to be released on May 1st.
Okay, great. So we still got time.
Yes, so
Okay.
have plenty of time for public comment.
Great. Aaron, yeah.
We did this stuff yesterday on Catalyst and you all, I think, talked about developing an FAQ. I suppose that's still.
Yes,
Yeah.
so. Let me advance. Like the time that most.
I'm controlling the
if not-
screen share. Should I
Oh.
show something else?
Eric, could you go to, there's 2 slides that captured like 90% of the questions. Or tried to aggregate next. Slide deck's gone.
Reclaim host.
Pending.
I can pull it up for the road.
Oh. Working on it.
There we go.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so this is one slide, we have 2 slides. So we have collected all of your questions on Catalyst. You go to the next slide, Eric, just. Yes, so this is what we are gonna be creating the FAQ on, and we'll be sending it out. Is that helpful? Yes.
I can't read that far.
I'll switch you seats.
Steve does have a magnifying glass. No one wants to use it. Okay, it is 15 after, so we've been hour 15. Are there any, while we are here in person, is there any other questions or issues we would like to touch on?
Like to say thank you.
Yeah.
Like to say thank you to everybody.
This is maybe just a technical issue, but through my conversations this morning, I got inspired to submit a project and I've been multitasking, listening and trying to figure out where that is on the website and I can't find it anymore.
So on mobile devices, the drop down menu dropped off a couple days ago. So we have to replace the drop down.
It's there, it's just behind where you can choose the language, so if you can like get your browser right in the right spot. It says like, it's underneath where it says English or, yeah,
Okay, got it.
and then you can, or just Google, what was it, project? Yeah, I found it just by your,
Look at that, thanks, we have a project.
But thank you, we'll make that easier.
drop down's there, it's just.
There's a project section in the menu now, we just need to fix the little integration.
Great. Any other burning questions?
Could we see the list of submitted projects somewhere? Is that also on that page?
The list of projects, we have sent it out in the past. We can
Okay.
send it out.
Okay,
Someone
that's
else
great.
requested it. I
Thank
can't
you.
remember, but it's
Actually on the, it's behind you.
But they're also behind you. We're friendly.
Oh, right there, okay, so I can just take a picture and, or, yeah. Okay, yeah, if you could read that'd be one.
It's not, that is not confusing. Yeah, we do have all of the.
Behind you.
Oh, this is how to submit a project idea. Now, just keep in mind, this is not the application, this is not the RFP, this is just a place where we've been collecting all of your ideas and looking at it as data for the past, since we opened it in like September, October? October.
Just to clarify on that, and I think that's great because then people are able to see others' ideas and say, oh, Craig, I'm doing something with forest reduction too or something. But if people get together at the July workshop and come up with a project together and it's not in there, they can still submit the RFP for it, right?
Yes.
But I think maybe in future meetings, having those available, highlighting the meeting.
Yeah.
Or sending them out.
Yes, definitely.
Also, before the community workshops, the Mammoth ones in like 10 days. Doing normally show up like the chamber power luncheons are, our small businesses, and it's not necessarily representative of everyone that we really want to be collaborating on this, to put out like a 1-page overview of what, it is for that we can share as the kind of local experts to bring in more of the people who wouldn't normally show up for those meetings.
She's talking about a 1-pager about the
Yeah,
workshops.
even be like the page,
Yeah, we have a flyer.
in the,
Yeah.
yeah, we send out the whole material, people aren't gonna read it, not gonna read the 400-page background, we need like something simple that, everyone who watched up these meetings would look at like, oh, I need to be at that chamber power luncheon in Mammoth, so I can weigh in and learn more about the process. Ours is in 10 days, so we'll deal with it next week and get it on the calendars, but.
Shauna, did you?
Yeah, so one thing we wanna move towards is whenever there's a request for information, we wanna start really using the website. So as we're planning these workshops and there's a flyer, like there's a flyer for the Lone Pine, that we wanna post that flyer on the website. And then that you don't have to find Erica to get the thing sent to you, and then you get the right version, like. The website is now where we wanna start having all of the flyers for all the communities listed, if they're slightly different. Then you all can be empowered to grab them and send them off and not be reliant on the staff too. So that, just start using the web, so Nolan, yes, and we'll send you a link. And it'll be on the website.
But yes, the idea is that, so the co-facilitator, CBOs that are going to be working with our team to host these workshops, and then the industry partners to host those workshops, they're gonna be provided with all of those flyers and materials to help send out to the community. We have a couple that, just because of the timing, the existing meeting, it's happening in 10 days, and they're like, let's utilize this time. So yeah, that one was a quick turnaround.
Sorry, I think it was up there. When is the review of the draft RFP?
So we are hoping to release it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Project ID has seen a rough draft, but it's been,
Not next week, but we have a lot, week after, we'll release, it's draft, so it's for comment, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for working on that.
Noel, to your point, just a reminder that in the beginning of this whole process, when we were putting the regional plan together, we have navigators on the ground in, Mammoth. We have Elaine and Bishop, we have Andrew and Amador, and we have Kara in Tuolumne, and they went around and did one-on-one and small group focus groups to help form a lot of the ideas you see around the wall. And those kinds of things can continue, the one-on-ones and the small groups. In addition to that, is literally their job, is to do outreach in the community on the ground. So that has all been taking place all along, and it will continue.
Quick comment, not a criticism, just a comment. I've had a hard time with getting content from the website. Frequently, people keep saying it's on the website, it's on the website. Yesterday, we had a fun adventure trying to find something that's supposed to be on the website. So, caution, when you're talking about that, are we talking about Sierra Business Council website? Are we talking about Sierra Jobs First?
Right.
And part B of that is make sure that it's accessible, because like some of the stuff is supposed to be there, but it's not.
Thank you. So for this project, it will be the Sierra Jobs First website.
Okay,
But thank you, and we'll keep an eye on that.
thank you.
And something to keep in mind that I hear a lot in my community, not everyone is internet focused.
Yeah.
You know, we oftentimes forget that, for example, the water company, you need to put a flyer at the post office. You need to put a flyer at the library.
Noted.
Not everyone's gonna get email, not everyone's gonna be able to access, the internet.
Yeah.
So just, I think you contemplated that, but just to make sure that's kind of in your thinking.
And yeah, just to that point, the question came up about communications, and we mentioned that we have added to our team in multiple levels. So Jill is our director. We also have a PR group in place. We have added to our team with, for media, et cetera, upping our media. So if you see things like that's a totally appropriate comment, it's like, hey, we need paper. Some people, and that's totally fine, and we can do that.
Yeah, I'll say
Okay,
that across
cool.
the board, if you ask for something, we'll make it. And I think, I talked to a few people about this morning, about creating, and to your point earlier, Mark, optional promotional kit, if we wanna get something out, you don't have to, you know, be an ambassador, but we are going to create a packet around all these, types of workshops, around, the strategic plan feedback process, around, the catalyst feedback process, around all of this, like, you will soon get a monthly or bi-monthly packet with, language that you can put in your own newsletters, you can invite your network to send out, you can put it on your social media, et cetera. We're gonna make those things for you and then give them to you to do what you will. You can change the copy, but yeah.
Will it be bilingual?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we, yes, short answer, yes, long answer, give us a little bit to roll out the Spanish one, just so we do it well. But yeah, we're gonna make this.
And then one last question. Sierra Jobs First, is that a new thing? Sierra Jobs First, did that get branded?
We shortened it, just because we know that it's more inclusive than the Eastern Sierra.
Okay.
We
no,
had
no,
a
I'm
search
just-
website, we changed it to Sierra Jobs First.
Right, because I thought it was California Jobs
It
First.
is, that is the overall, yeah.
Okay.
California, our
We
region.
shortened it to Sierra Jobs First.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Other
And
regions.
it's a slow brand rollout, it's not an official one. But, so that we don't change, I'll say, California Jobs First, we can see our regions, we just confirmed it. And we're now catching up with our marketing materials
Okay,
to
cool.
align it all, but.
Because I saw the acronym and I was like, I don't know that acronym.
Right.
Oh, no, we're not allowed to do that.
There's another question that you know of? Okay, Rafi. Okay, just next steps, couple reminders. So this is April 26th, right? So next month, May, we have our community workshops. We are in progress of getting the industry workshops. We also have our existing HRTC office hours, which only like 2 people, 3 people show up on average. That's another great place to come get updates, information. We have a roundtable, a tribal subcommittee next month, and every month from here on out. And then in June, on top of our workshops, there's some that are gonna be bleeding over. We also have our subcommittee meetings and our council meeting at the end of the month.
I recommend adding it to the website.
Yes.
The calendar.
We do have a calendar on the website.
Oh, yes, you do, okay.
Yes.
And just a reminder, we're talking about a lot of short-term dates here, like boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
But this is a long-term process. And Sandra left actually, unfortunately, and Sandra, before she left, said to me, her favorite thing about this project is that we're planning for not only the next generation, but generations after that. So keep that in mind, because this is a long-term commitment that you've all made to each other. And that's really exciting for us. And thank you, everybody. There were no more questions, Brandon.
Oh, there weren't? Oh.
Like, you know.
I'm sorry, I know we're trying to get out here. There's the project workshops, and I know with those workshops, we're gonna be working with other people in our industry groups to come up with like a general idea. the RFP then comes out, is there gonna be, I mean, I haven't seen the draft yet, but presuming that it requires a logic model and budget, those types of, is there gonna be support for, because there's varying levels of
Oh, yeah.
familiarity with grant writing.
Yes, we'll have a technical assistant, and we'll map out that process.
Yeah, it's not, okay, here's our commitment to you. We are gonna keep the application as simple as possible. However, there's,
Requirements to the
there are
state, right?
requirements. We, don't beat up Jesus, he didn't make these rules.
Right.
But we, SPC will keep, and the committee will keep it as simple as possible. We know how hard it is to apply for grants.
Well, we write big grants, I just feel like other people.
I understand. No, believe me, it's tough. And the whole idea about this is that the groups that normally can't access this funding have a fair shot. And if we make it really complicated, they're gonna go forget it. So that isn't what we want to prevent. Yeah.
But it's a balance, right? You don't wanna make it so easy that everyone can get, it. You wanna have some accountability, and I think that's where the work really lies. You wanna make sure it's a really good balance between, lowering barriers for folks to enter. But you also wanna provide enough accountability that the funds actually go directly to the communities and areas where they can get the most. So, yeah, lots of work to be done.
Okay, last two things, and then you can go. Okay, so the regional summary that we submitted to the state, this is a living document. I know it's in print right now, but it's intended to be a living document. This is what was mentioned yesterday. This is still on our website for review. I will warn you, as you can see, it is not light reading. But there's so much good information in here. Yeah, there's 70 pages of appendices, there's lots of graphics, there's lots of pictures. So please take a look at it, please provide feedback. Hold on, guys, I hear murmuring, and this is really important. My new data bestie, David, in the back. If you know of data sets that are better than what we have provided in the appendices, please send them. My background is in data. I know it's a rabbit hole. It's never over. You can always find more data. So if you know of something that you can send and help us to improve this process, please do that. That would be really helpful for our team. So don't forget, it's a Google form. So when you're reading it, if you could, include comments, but also don't just say, just because we can't have comments coming in like, well, I don't agree with this. It needs to be, I don't agree with this because this is the counterpoint. That's what's helpful for our team. Okay, so that would be super great if you guys could do that. Any questions on that before our last thing?
When's comments due?
June 30th. Yeah, and then we will be updating this every year. So the idea is that it's not the last time. Things change, census data changes. It has to be updated. This is just our first update since we submitted it. Okay, last thing. We have tons of food.
Yeah.
Can you please take food on the road? Take something. And, oh, sorry, Steve.
No, I want you to close. I'm trying to encourage you to close. So please, close. But everyone-
And feed.
First of all, I am just extremely excited and, I just want to thank you all for your leadership. Please hang in there, have difficult conversations, call people out in a good way. But I think this is where the magic is really going to happen. I did want to mention that if you look around here, young people are missing.
Yes.
And
Wait, I
Right. But, and we have an aging population, right? But if we want to attract and retain young people to be here, if we want to build leaders of tomorrow, what better way but to bring them into this process? Either as, they could be taking notes, or they could be a subcommittee. There's different ways that you can integrate young people and building them up. This is a really great leadership opportunity for young people. And for them to have ownership over this process. Imagine they become county supervisors one day because of this process. So I just want you to think about what are the different ways that you can engage young people, but also the different communities that are missing in the room. Last time I was here, there was half the people in the room. Now the room is filled, but there's more work to do. And I know the deliverables sound daunting, but lots of work, very little time. You have an amazing team to work with. Feedback is, you know, good or bad, it's always good. You want to make sure that you provide meaningful feedback. But again, thank you for inviting me and having me here today. I am your resource, happy to be a thought partner throughout this process. But again, I think you all have an amazing team behind you. And I'm just incredibly excited to come back in a couple of months to see where you all are.
All right, come grab a sandwich. Beautiful and sunny out there, change control us down. Sun well.